Hey, welcome to the John F. Gately Show. I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack. I'm broadcasting today from beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts, behind enemy lines in Massachusetts. It is a beautiful fall day here in Massachusetts. What I want to talk to you today about is the efficacy of the vaccine. And before I actually get into that here in Massachusetts, from a Massachusetts angle where 68% of our population is vaccinated, I'm really worried about whether or not this video will ever survive for any length of time on YouTube. According to a new policy from YouTube, they are cracking down on apparently anybody that posts content that is skeptical about the vaccine. And certainly there are a lot of accounts out there that say things that I totally would disassociate myself from relative to the virus vaccine or a whole bunch of other vaccines. But apparently you can't question anything about the vaccine now on YouTube. So these statistics that I'm going to quote today are directly from the Department of Public Health here in Massachusetts and Bostoncom, which is owned by the Boston Globe. So we'll see whether this video survives. As you can see here this is from the Federalist, and you can find this all over the internet. YouTube purges accounts, videos casting any doubt on COVID vaccinations. YouTube is cracking down on users who post content that opposes prevailing government or bureaucratic COVID narrative and discourages people from getting the shot. Well, I'm not going to discourage anybody from getting the shot. I think you should probably get the shot. I'm pro-vaccine. Let's put it right out there, pro-vaccine. As a general thing, vaccines are a really good thing. Thank God for vaccines. So I'm just putting it out there, Google, because of course you own YouTube. I am pro-vaccine as a general rule of thumb. Today's video is going to focus, and let's bring up some tabs from Boston.com, actually. A really interesting article from Boston.com, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're going in a state that is, I don't want to say we're not fully vaccinated in Massachusetts, but 68% of, as I said, of eligible people are fully vaccinated. 77% of eligible adults have had at least one shot. I mean, we're one of the most vaccinated states in the country. Here in Massachusetts, I'm just going to scroll down this here. What we're seeing is a significant rise in the number of breakthrough cases. Now, this chart is on a 5,000 increment basis, so we're at about 38,000 or so total breakthrough cases here in Massachusetts. Now, let's put that into perspective, and I think that the second chart down here is the one that we really want to focus on. This is the percent of breakthrough cases. So when you're asking yourself, well, how big of it is a breakthrough? This breakthrough case thing is not a big deal. And I think that the whole term, breakthrough case, we have to kind of we've got to reimagine that terminology. Because what we're seeing in Massachusetts, and I don't know if this is true in other states, but, I suspect it will. Maybe some people will do the research in other states. Here in Massachusetts, last week, 42%, 41.9, 42% of all of our new virus cases were breakthrough cases. I know, that's shocking. And you would think, well, Jack, that's just got to be an anomaly in the numbers. No, actually, the week before it was 39.4. The week before that it was 33.3, and the week before that it was 38-ish. Or no, actually, it was like 40.4, I think. So over the course of the last month in Massachusetts, which is one of your highest vaccinated states in the country, 38.8% of all new cases were people that were fully vaccinated. And I do mean fully vaccinated a full 14 days after the second shot. Here in Massachusetts, we've been roughly averaging about 30% of all hospitalizations are people that are fully vaccinated. And these are really disturbing numbers for those who, which should be just about everybody in the country, who wanted an efficacy of the vaccine to be much stronger. You might remember that earlier this month, the federal government redefined what they consider a vaccine. Now, most people think that when you get a vaccine, like against the polio, for instance, you get a vaccine, good, I got the shot, and I'm not going to get it. And we all understand that, it's possible that you could have a breakthrough case. And those breakthrough cases in, your mind, hey, I got vaccinated, it should work. Okay, some freak case, a handful of cases across the country, less than 1% would be kind of like what I was thinking, that you could get a virus even though you were vaccinated. And, I mean, it's kind of weird, right? You can get a virus even though you're vaccinated against it, because even though the federal government might change its technical definition, in popular culture, in common parlance, when you think about getting vaccinated, you say, "Oh, great, I can't get the virus," and apparently that's not true. Especially even in a state that's highly vaccinated, like Massachusetts. Where this leads for us here in Massachusetts, can we continue to fight? I don't know. I mean, incredibly, I was shocked, and I was just listening to Kathy Hochul from the new governor in New York the other day, where she insisted that breakthrough cases are a rarity, are extraordinarily rare, doesn't happen, or happens incredibly. But that is not the case here in Massachusetts, and this should be we should be able to have, getting back to our YouTube point, we should be able to have a discussion about whether or not we can actually talk about this, in public debate, in the public square. I'm literally high above Town Square here in beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts. It is a gorgeous day. And literally, the Town Square is right there. We should be able to have a discussion about whether or not our vaccine is working, whether or not our vaccine policy is working, whether the efficacy of the vaccine is working, whether our policy is working. How does this work with vaccine passports if we have a vaccine that isn't working as well as it should? We should be able to have a discussion about that in the public square. According to YouTube, that's no longer going to be possible. So how do we do that? I mean, with all the tech platforms, it's like this perfect storm of bureaucrats and big tech and public health officials dictating what you can and cannot say in the public square. And when they're doing that, especially big tech is doing that at the behest of the government, they're effectively working as a government agency and as an agent of the government. You might remember that, what was it, August? Seems so long ago, that Alex Berenson got finally banned from Twitter. It took him some effort, but he finally got banned from Twitter for suggesting that the virus was more of a therapeutic. And that was verboten. You can't say that, of course. But with 42% of the people getting the virus having been double vaccinated, shouldn't that be a discussion we're at least allowed to have? Shouldn't we be able to at least suggest that, to debate it? I was always brought up that the worst ideas in society should have the ability to speak in the public square, to publish that letter to the editor, to whatever it is, wherever that public square happens to be. And that those disgusting, vile ideas should be able to see the light of day so they can be exposed for what they are, so they can be defeated in the minds of the general public. And I still believe that. And if people want to ask questions about the virus, they should be able to do that on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. Those are the public squares of today, especially now that they're acting at behest of the government. When you stop doing that, when you stop having people that ask difficult questions, certainly our media is not going to do that. then you then have a authority that has no check to it. And of course, our whole country is set up for checks and balances. This is a very important question. I'm curious to see if anyone from the press will actually ask Governor Baker here in Massachusetts behind enemy lines, extremely unlikely, or whether somebody else in some other state will ask the same question, or whether they'll get some similar data. Will it be allowed to be published? Those are really important questions. We're talking about the fundamental aspect of our freedom to discuss these issues. This is a legitimate statistic from our Department of Public Health. I didn't make it up. I just read it at Bostoncom and brought it to your attention. We should be able to talk about it. I hope that we can. Hey, I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack from Plymouth, Massachusetts, behind enemy lines. Have a great day. Bye-bye.